When we misplace an object, we misplace it. We set it somewhere we weren't thinking about, we weren't conscious of, we weren't attending to. Is it ever really lost? Or is it simply lost to our perception in the moment? And is it really lost, or is it simply misplaced? And really it's misplaced, right? But now we want to take this a little bit deeper. Consider this. So, along with loss, particularly of humans or of animals that we're close to, but this process of loss applies to a lot of things because people go from loss to grief. Okay. And grief has been researched in this multi-stage process of how we did it and how we process loss. And it's all very kind of interesting because to me, grief is nothing more than a temporary identity crisis that's created by the change to your environment or your experience. Consider that. Consider grief is a temporary identity crisis that's created by the change to your environment or experience. Now, why would that be important? Well, because it allows you to put the focus in the right place. When we lose something significant, when something significant is, it's hard to take the word out of the vocabulary. It's hard to move the word in the vocabulary because it's so entrained in our vocabulary. So I will catch it as often as I can to describe because it's not useful to describe it using the word. So we believe we lose something, a person, an animal. We'll use it there because that seems to be the greatest way to say it. But what I see happening is that the grief is the result of not the loss, but the change in the environment, the change that's created because we know now no longer understand who we are in relation to that thing, that person, that experience, and our life and world. So we built an identity around that person, place, or thing being in our experience. And when that person, place, or thing is no longer in our experience, we are now in an identity crisis because it is the attachment to those things that causes us to go there, right? You think about people talking about grieving and they're grieving for a long time. The grieving process, I believe, is that process of redefining who we are now in the absence of what was there before. So it's confusing, it's frustrating, it's angering, it's depressing, can be all of those things. But if we're focused on the thing that is no longer there, then the grief is not going to get resolved in the way that it could best possibly be resolved. And we end up carrying that energy for however long we have been trained by our various peoples throughout our lives to believe we're supposed to. And we've built this whole process around believing that death is a negative end result. Therefore, when someone dies, it's a loss, and I know how to deal with my life anymore because that identity that I created doesn't exist. Duh. That's called evolution. That's why we're here. That all of this co-creative process is all this amazing evolution of our experience. And so if we think of grief in a different way, if we think of grief as an identity crisis, we can focus then in on how have we attached to that person, place, or thing in our environment in a way that is unhealthy or in a way that we have created our identity around it.